Hi, welcome to Sunya IAS and welcome to episode 16 of our 20 days prelim series, Cut the Clutter. The topic for today is, should we attempt a paper in 2 versus 3 rounds? Basically, we will be talking about how to actually attempt a FLT in exam-like conditions, okay? So, you must have heard that people who are selected are seniors and experienced candidates tells us that they attempted the prelims paper in multiple rounds and that really helped them increase their accuracy as well as they felt that the outcome was better. And that is why the first question that comes to our mind is कि round में क्यों attempt करना है paper? Why does it have to be in multiple rounds? The simple answer to this is, before you decide how many rounds, how to actually learn it, firstly the basic question should be answered that why does it have to be in multiple rounds? It has to be in multiple rounds because if you just read the prelims paper at one go from question 1 to 100, no matter how slow you read, 99% chances that there would be some questions that won't click to you immediately. So if you just do a question in first round or only one round, you will feel that okay, this cannot be solved now, and then you will skip it. But if you come back to that question, first time you read it, then you go through the paper, in round 2 you come back to it, there are chances that by then the anxiety would have reduced a little and something might click. And this is the simple reason behind why you should attempt the paper in multiple go, because when you are sitting in the exam hall, the pressure of prelims is immense, all of us know it. So in that time period, under those pressures, the best of us sometimes are not able to actually remember or actually understand what the question is demanding. But if you read it twice or thrice in upcoming rounds, there are very high chances that something might click. You might remember something that will help you to solve the question better or at least eliminate options, okay? So this is a simple reason why to do it in rounds, so that you can recall better, okay? Now the next question, how many rounds? Who should do 2 rounds, who should do 5 rounds? Because we have heard from aspirants that sometimes people will tell that they solve it in 2 rounds, and then there are people who have told us that they solve it in 5 rounds. So how to actually decide what category do you fall in, firstly, and secondly, should we do it directly in the exam? Should we do it directly, this process in the exam, and will be able to do it? The first part, that which category do you fall in, how many rounds, how to find out, I'll tell you. But the answer to second question, that should you do directly in the exam? Not at all. In fact, you won't be able to. We always feel that the day of exam will be extraordinary and something unique will happen that day. Well, the day is extraordinary because a lot of our lives depend on that one prelims question. But something unique won't happen that day. Whatever you have practiced in mocks, in fact, even 70-80% of that, if you are able to replicate, you do very well in the exam. So rather than assuming that you would do this directly in the exam, you have to practice it in simulations, all India mocks, simulations. You have to actually try. This has to be a trial and error method rather than somebody telling you 3 rounds may do or 4 rounds may you should do and then you just blindly do it. You have to find for yourself. So firstly, you need to practice this. Where do you need to practice this? Does it have to happen in half length or does it have to happen in sectional or full length? As per my little understanding, I don't think doing questions in multiple rounds in sectional tests makes sense. Because in sectional tests, even if it is a 50 question or a 100 question paper, it mostly has sectional tests. For example, it's a geography sectional test. So all questions are from one subject. So I don't think doing multiple rounds practice in those tests makes sense. Where you actually can learn this and actually understand what category do you fall in will come in FLT, because FLT will be exactly like UPSC paper. You will have subjects from multiple subjects and questions from different dimensions, because that is what the issue is. When we read 2 economy questions, somehow our brain starts working towards those formulas that we have learned in economy. And suddenly when we switch next to the polity question, our brain might not be able to make the switch immediately. That is why when you come in the next round to that question, you will read that question more calmly. So firstly, that first pointer that you should take from this video is that you have to practice in FLTs. Now, coming to the second important part, how will you actually know what category do you fall in? Is it compulsory for you to do 3 rounds? Is it compulsory for you to do it 5 rounds? The answer again is no. Nothing is compulsory. The only compulsion, even this is a humble suggestion, but as per my experience, at least 2 rounds should happen. Lesser than that, then there are very high chances you are missing on some questions that you might have got correct. So 2 rounds have to happen, but the journey between 2 to 5, as in who will do 2 and who will do 5, depends on the individual, and I will just tell you how to actually know it, okay? Suppose you are going to attempt a All India mock. It can be Ranbhoomi from Sunya or any other All India mock, okay? You go to attempt it in exam-like conditions. In these mocks that you're giving seriously, sitting with an OMR, you need to practice. Now I will tell you, also since I told you that there is no compulsion, 2 or 5 rounds have to happen. One time I solved it in 4 rounds, I cleared pre that year, and then again in the next year, I solved it in 2 rounds because I felt the paper was a little lengthy, and I again cleared prelims, okay? So this should actually give you confidence that the number of rounds actually can be different for different people, and sometimes it is also altered on the base of how lengthy the paper is. I had planned to solve it in 4 rounds, but when I went to the exam hall, I realized that this question paper is a little lengthy. And even the statements, the questions were lengthy, even the statements were taking a lot more time for me to actually read. So then there I took the decision, okay, let me do it in, even then I wanted to do 3, but I could do only 2. But then all of this switching, this shifting did not create a lot of panic because I was ready. I understood the basic concept of why I am doing it in rounds, so I could take an immediate decision there rather than panicking or trying to force myself, no, I have to do it in 4 rounds, okay? Now, let me just tell you who would fall into the round 2 category and who will fall into the round 3 category, and how can you actually find this for yourself. First and most important, second important thing that you should take from this video is that in order to actually do multiple rounds, you should know the exact time. Like, you cannot pause there and calculate that, okay, now 9:30 is happened, now next 40 minutes will be 10:10. This all doesn't have to happen. You actually have to decide it beforehand in the mocks. So if you are someone who's doing it in 2 rounds, then it would be, first round would be around 1 hour 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and second round would be 40 minutes. We get 2 hours for the prelims examination, 2 rounds, simple calculation, 1 hour 15 minutes, first round, 45 minutes, second round. I'll tell you right now after this that how to actually, what to do in rounds, but this has to be the simple division between 2 rounds. And suppose if you're doing it in 3 rounds, okay, then the timings will change. Then the first round has to be in 1 hour, second round has to happen in 40 minutes, and third round can be 20 minutes. So just like I told you a thumb rule in planning revision cycles that by each iteration the time should decrease, similar is this. By each round, by each iteration, by the next round, your time should decrease, because obviously in the first round you would be seeing each question for the first time. So you will be reading it patiently. That is why first round always takes maximum amount of time, and that is okay. But then when you have read the question paper once, you have to go through question 1 to 100 in the first round, right? So then in the second round, obviously you would have marked something, some questions you would have already filled in OMR, some you would have marked for second reading. So then the time should decrease, okay? This should be the basic ideology, even if you decide 5 rounds. For example, I know someone who cleared prelims multiple times and he used to do the paper in 5 rounds. I'll tell you the timings that he used to follow. The first round for him used to happen in 40 minutes, then 30, then 20, the fourth round again 20, and then the last round used to be very quick, 5 to 10 minutes, okay? But this is difficult to do. He still did it because he felt that this is what works for him. He had practiced it in mocks so many times. Otherwise, think if somebody randomly decides to take one more round of the paper in the last 5 minutes, if they have not practiced enough, probably they will panic and just over attempt or sometimes leave easy questions. So all of this has to be based on practice. Now that I've told you a little idea about the 2 or 3 round timings, what actually has to happen in rounds? The first round you take, you have to read the questions and then decide some marks or some kind of, identities that you will give to the type of question. And also within all of this, you have to also find out what kind of a person you are. When do you fill the OMR? I cannot tell you how many people in the exam hall actually lose because they keep filling the OMR until the last moment. I mean, if you have solved the whole question properly and then there are last 10 minutes left for you to fill OMR, there are very high chances, because the bell start ringing, the person who's invigilating, they will start telling you only 10 minutes are left, and even if then you would be getting probably 100, in hurry some OMR filling mistake will happen. So you can be someone who does 20 question, pauses and then fills. For example, I was a person, as soon as I solved a question, I used to mark it in OMR. I did not wait for last. Okay, so you also need to find out what kind of a person are you regarding OMR. Whatever person you are, it is fine. But my humble advice to you would be, don't fill all 100 questions together in the last 10 minutes. More often than not, it turns out to be disastrous. Okay, so now what has to happen in rounds? The first round you take, you read the questions. Okay, this is how I used to do it. I used to go through all 100 questions. Okay, and then I used to either, if I'm sure about 100% about that question, I will solve there, I will fill it in OMR, and I used to cut that question on the sheet. So that in the second, third round, again, I'm not confused, I'm not wasting time rereading the solved question. This is also very important. Once you have filled an OMR regarding a question, you cannot change it, better to cut it, put a strike mark so that in the second or third reading, you don't waste time reading it. So in the first round, I used to read questions 1 to 100 and I used to divide them. If I'm doing 3-4 rounds, then I will divide them in multiple categories. First will be solvable, already I'm 100% sure about, I fill it. Then I had 3 more signs. One would be where I'm confused between two options. That would go into 75% category. That I would do in round 2. Then there would be category of questions that I have no idea about. There either I'm going to take a blind guess or I'm going to leave it, because suppose in the first or second round I have only reached up to 50 questions. Then that is not fair, right? I am someone who used to attempt 90 to 95 questions. Again, this you need to find. Your accuracy has to be found, like you need to discover that what kind of a person you are in terms of accuracy. But very rare people are the people who actually have such high accuracy that they will solve only 65 and clear pre. Most of us would like to solve more questions. So in the first round, I will do those questions that I'm very sure about, and no matter how hard I studied, even in the year I cleared prelims, they used to be roughly around 30-35. This has happened in first round. So 35 questions solved in first round, but the remaining 65, I have put some signs that what category do they belong to. Now comes the importance of rounds. In second round, time will reduce by 20-30 minutes. I will only see the questions in this round that I am confused between two options, because even if you are able to eliminate one option, you should attempt that question. So in second round, those questions will be marked, which I am not 100% sure about, but almost sure about. Again, round 2 has happened. Now I am left, and by the round second, I have hopefully reached to 60-65 questions at least. Okay, now comes the third or the fourth round, where you have questions where you either you have no idea about, or you have just a hunch that this might be the answer. I would want to tell you that most amount of blunders happen in the third category, because by now you have run out of time, as in probably an hour and a half has passed. You have only 30 minutes. You have this realization that I still have 30 questions to attempt. So you start panicking. You have to balance between over attempting and attempting less number of questions. And what people who don't practice rounds in mocks do is, in third round, they just go berserk and they will mark all the questions in hurry without even taking time. This is not something that is supposed to happen. The third round is where you have to be, actually most amount of work will go in second and third round. First though is your introduction with the paper, and you are solving questions you're comfortable with. For example, polity. So first round would be comfortable. 1 hour would have passed and you'll feel comfortable. In second round requires a lot of work, because there is where you actually have to take the tough decisions. 2 options are where you actually have to decide which one you are going to choose. So that is going to be a lot of work. And then finally in the third round, you have to control yourself. It is very hypocritical that in third round you would be feeling more panicked, and this is where you need to control yourself most, but that is the truth. Because if you overdo it in third round, probably again you will get a lot of negatives and you will somehow lose on the cutoff, unfortunately. By the third round, firstly you should have the satisfaction that okay, I have done my 60 questions well, now it's just a matter of 10-15 more positives and then I'll be clearing pre. So you need to be very careful about saving your negatives. Now all of this is a complicated process, okay? And that is why I'm telling you, this needs to be practiced in tests. Every FLT you take, maybe suppose you have planned giving 5 more open all India mocks, and then suppose 10 FLTs you have planned. So the practice has to happen. So in whatever FLTs and all India mocks you would be sitting for, please experiment. Maybe in the first mock, do 2 rounds and see how comfortable are you feeling. Then in the next, do 3 and then take random guesses and just do 5 in 1. You actually don't know what category do you fall in terms of accuracy. And how will you, even after doing all of this, how will you exactly know After you attempt it in rounds, kindly try to form a table. The table will just have 2 columns, round 1 and round 2, and it will say number of questions attempted and how many questions did I get correct. If you are someone who's just doing 2 rounds and in the first round their accuracy is as high as to 75%, then you are the person who just needs to do 2 rounds. But if you are someone who's not getting very high accuracy in the first round, then they might need to increase 1 round more, and this is how you actually practice. Hopefully, I genuinely hope, although it also depends on the day of examination, but I genuinely hope that somehow you are able to reach 3 rounds, because it is often seen, my experiences, what they have been, and when I talk to students, people mostly who do in 3 rounds somehow find a balance of not over attempting but also not under attempting. And even though I clearly told you that I wanted to do 4 rounds but then I had to shift to 2, you will be able to switch depending on that day. You won't panic if you actually understand yourself. There you will be able to gauge by reading first, second page that okay, this is not a paper where 5 rounds can be done. So you will do 2, but for practice, let us assume the best, that whatever we have practiced here, we can do that. Firstly, to do that, you need to actually figure out yourself. Also, apart from all of the benefits I have told you about accuracy and understanding the paper better, it will also solve the issue of not being able to complete the paper. So many people tell me that they did a half-length test and they couldn't do 50 questions in 1 hour. You have to develop reading speed. Imagine how would you feel if you're not able to do even 1 round or go to the 100th question. It happens a lot of times in CSAT. CSAT, how it has to be attempted in rounds and all. I think Sugam sir would have spoken to you about this on day 8, where he talked about the CSAT strategy or how the paper is to be attempted. This is about GS. But you have to develop your reading speed. That is why I am telling that at least 2 rounds have to happen. So apart from the benefits of accuracy and everything, you do this exercise, it will also increase the reading speed. When you will feel a little pressure in mocks that I have to read the paper twice, then you will try to increase your reading speed, understanding speed, because your understanding and comprehension also has to be good for you to, in order to actually able to understand the question and then feel the OMR. These are such small things, like right now you would be feeling silly that why should we actually practice with OMRs, but in actual exam hands start shaking. So many of us just mark some answer in some wrong bubble or something of that sort, and that is such a pain point, because even after solving the question correctly, you don't get marks. That is an OMR sheet. When it is done, then it is done. You can't use Widener and all. I mean, even if you can, I don't think you should be doing that, because we don't know what if our whole OMR gets rejected. So once you have filled the wrong bubble, it is just extremely sad that you're losing the marks that you actually deserved. So rather than leaving all of these small things on the day of exam, assuming that okay, we will do it there, do it here. That is the whole purpose of simulations. Okay, I think on day 19 or day 18, I would be talking to you broadly about how to simulate, how many times should you simulate, when to simulate. We will talk about it, but as of from this video, you need to understand that in simulations, this has to happen, this has to be practiced. With this, I hope I was able to clear all your doubts regarding attempting the paper in rounds, the logic behind it, how you need to find it, that what category do you belong to. The ending note would be, don't ask anyone, don't trust blindly. If I tell you that you have to do it in 5 rounds, don't trust your friend who's telling you that only 1 round has to happen. Take the effort. As I'd say in every video, enable yourself rather than depending on me or someone else or some topper strategy. Find out yourself. Now that I've told you the logic, I genuinely hope that it motivates you to actually try this in the upcoming mocks and find out for yourself. And even beyond that, if some doubt remains, you can please kindly comment and then I will try to clear that. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.